Okay, thank you for joining us on another episode of the Kentucky Couple podcast. So, we're going to get into a trip that we took, I guess it's been about a year ago now.
Yeah.
And it was a new trip for us, and it was to London, England.
Yep.
Um, I mean, it wasn't our first time out of the country, but in other ways, it felt like it. First time using our actual passport.
Yes.
Before, we'd been on cruises, been to Canada, but it just doesn't feel the same.
No.
It's flying and actually going through, real deal customs and things.
Cross seas and
Yeah. So a little bit of the backstory. We went. Your cousin Caitlin met a fellow. They both have an interest in writing,
yep.
and they kind of got to talking and started dating. Very long distance relationship,
Yeah.
and decided they wanted to meet.
It had been several months while
Yeah.
they were talking
And so she and her mother asked if we would go with her. First time they met, it was just a quick trip, like 4 days there and
Yeah.
back. So it was a little bit of a whirlwind. So
Wow.
keep that in mind when we're going over kind of our likes and what we like the
we
most
tried
about
to
it.
pick the main focal
Yeah, and
points.
we tried to hit everything that we could
as quick as
as quick as
possible.
we could. But I really enjoyed the trip. I know that.
Yes. I would
And,
like to go back.
yeah.
See some other parts of the country there in England, not just London.
Yeah, they're. For anybody wondering, their relationship's still going strong. He's here visiting now.
Yeah. Still
so,
going good.
Hey, Josh, if you hear this. But so let's go ahead and get started. We're going to do things a little different. I'm going to have some pictures showing. I make kind of a slideshow, and going to try to clean this up a little bit over the next couple of weeks. So if you're watching, that you'll be able to see some of what we're talking about. So just bear with me, just real quick. I'm going to have to. It'll throw the screen off if you're watching. But it'll take just a second. And that should have us ready to go. So, like I said, we were in London, and just a little bit of background, kind of setting up before we get into our top 5. That's still going to be kind of our theme, our 5 favorite things about our trip, and I think they're very similar this time.
Yeah.
And part of that's because we didn't do an extraordinary lot. A lot of things, but
Yeah, it took me a bit to think
yeah.
about it because it was kind of just packed
Yeah.
in.
So first we traveled over new airline, JetBlue, for
Yeah,
something.
very
Nice. So later on this season, one of the things we'll talk about is different airlines that we've rode on, compare and contrast those, tell you what we like and didn't like, and I'll say this is the only time with JetBlue, but if that's something we were flying frequently, and if they had a hub in Cincinnati, that would be my go-to.
Yeah, very roomy.
Yeah, and you can look this up. The most leg room, the most pitch, and what pitch is the distance from the backrest that you're sitting in to where your knees are, the seat in front of you. So that's the top in any domestic airline for their economy class. So it was super nice. We went from Charlotte to Boston to London Heathrow. Okay, so I got some pictures there of those 3 airports that you can see. But we were on JetBlue, really nice. DirecTV the whole way. I actually
Yes.
watched, to kind of date when this was, I guess it was like last fall break, not this past one, 2022. I watched Kentucky Ole Miss play football over the Atlantic Ocean. And
Yeah.
a lot of people thought I was nuts. Kentucky lost a close game, and I was so aggravated to be in that little tiny crammed seat and just so mad. But
Well, at least it was bigger than most, so you
yeah, it
was
was.
cramped as.
Yeah, it was. It was nice, and on the way back, man, like
Yeah, it wasn't
there was
very
like
crowded
maybe
at all.
25% of the plane was full. Like everybody had a row to themselves, so it was really awesome.
Yeah.
So another thing before we get into it that I noticed a difference from here in the United States to there is public transit.
Mhm.
Buses I thought were a lot cleaner.
Yes.
Subway system was a lot cleaner.
Yes.
Um,
Streets.
yeah.
Just
like in
out
New
and
York,
about.
a lot of times the escalators 50-50 chance they're going to work.
Mhm.
These super deep. They're huge escalators. I have a picture there you can kind of see. Hopefully that's showing up well for you. It was super deep, but it was, very clean, and I really liked it. I thought it was a great way to get around London. I'm a big fan of stuff. If we're in D.C. or New York, I love it.
Yep.
I think it's efficient, fast, but this is definitely a step above. And then the time we were there, just a couple days before we left, was when Queen Elizabeth passed away.
That we did see some interesting.
Yeah, so I'm showing here. This was a Queen Elizabeth memorial that had already been there. It was, I guess she kind of commissioned it, paid for it, and it was to honor some troops from the World Wars.
Yeah.
And so this was her. It was a monument named after her
Kinda like
for
a
the Great
park-like
War.
area?
Yeah, it was a park. It kind of backed up to Buckingham Palace.
Yeah.
And so what you're seeing there is some flowers, and this was just after her death. There was letters, there was teddy bears, just tons
Drawings
of stuff
from
there.
kids.
Yeah, and so they were kind of in mourning. We were there between when she passed and her funeral at Westminster Abbey. I believe.
Yeah.
So there's just a couple pictures of that, and then I threw in a couple pictures of Ellie. We brought her back. I don't know if it was in poor taste or not, a Queen Elizabeth mask that she's showing off here. And,
She was
and a
amazed
statue
by
of
that,
Big
to think
Ben.
about the queen. There's queen,
Yeah.
kings, that
Yeah.
kind of thing. So we decided to bring her a little.
Yeah, she was
gift
5
back.
then, 6 now.
She's
and,
really excited.
Yeah, she really liked
She
that.
always wants stuff brought back.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and get into our top 5 list. And for both of us, it was Abbey Road.
Yeah.
So neither of us are huge, I would say, that kind of style music people. You're more of a music person than I am.
I mean, I like it, but it's not my first choice.
Yeah.
But I mean, we do know about it. And,
Well, everybody
yeah.
knows the Beatles.
Yeah. But
And,
I mean,
so, but we're not Beatles fans. Like, I probably couldn't name 10 of their songs, and I don't know if there's any that I would say, yeah, I really like that song.
yeah.
But
There's a few I like.
but we know it, and my brother's really a huge music fan, and that is kind of his style. So I wanted to go by, get him some souvenirs, and just take some pictures. So here's a selfie that we probably sent to him. This is the Abbey Road shop that I'm showing him there. That was kind of the little gift shop that went up against it. But for those that don't know, Abbey Road is the name of their studios where the Beatles did most of their recording, and also maybe the most famous record album, the cover ever, is them walking across the Abbey Road.
Yeah.
And so I'm showing that picture now of the Beatles. And this was one of their albums. And there's always people there.
Yeah.
It seems. There's kind of
I don't see how. Like, I'm sure the
signs.
people that live there are like
Yeah, it's
these
just-
annoying people.
Yeah, there's just,
because
it's
we're
just
walking
a
it.
kind of a suburb.
It's just a normal street,
little
which is
neighborhood.
surprising you.
And, there's house, and then this random house in the middle happens to be a recording studio.
Yeah.
And so the Beatles just walked out front, took a picture, and become famous. I guess, the majority of the world probably recognizes this image. And now here's a picture of Whitney walking across that Abbey Road. Now,
Which I was trying to hurry because the traffic was not very slow. They just were going.
Yeah.
So.
So we I actually took it from the wrong side, I think. And so it looks like she's walking the opposite direction. I think she's right. I'm not on the right side
We were just
to
trying
get
to
the
hurry
picture.
because
Yeah.
of all the traffic.
We were trying to hurry. And you can see something interesting in this picture here, that they are, if you look on the sidewalk, it tells you which direction to look for traffic, because we naturally look to the right. And that only, you kind of look both ways. But for us, and I guess a lot of people visiting, the traffic pattern is different. So you could be thinking, okay, I'm looking, making sure I'm clear, but traffic could be coming from the other direction. So that you can kind of see that kind of right here. It'll say what direction to look as you're crossing. All right, so let's go forward. So next, I think this was your number 4 as well, was the Piccadilly Circus.
Yeah.
So
Which is
explain a
so-
little bit about that.
I feel like I kind of compare it to like maybe a mini Times Square or something. It reminds me of Times Square in some ways, but I mean it's not obviously not as extravagant.
That's
but
exactly how I would say it. It's kind of their version of Times Square, kind of right in the hub
much
of
cleaner
London.
than Times Square.
Yeah. Now, here's the thing. I know a lot of people say, well, that's really touristy. We're typical tourists.
I like
We like
tourists.
touristy stuff.
I like tourist stuff here. In my
I love
hometown.
Times Square.
Me too.
I mean, there's a lot of places we've been that don't match what it looks like on TV.
Yeah.
Times Square is the one place that does.
Yeah. I mean,
It's-
honestly, if you're going to go and it's a touristy spot, everybody, you're going to want to see it.
You want to see it.
I want my next trip to be like exploring the countryside.
Yeah.
But I want to see the monuments
Yeah.
and things while we're there.
And so here you kind of see this image of, Piccadilly Circus, what they call it. And it's kind of just the hub of downtown. The shopping district is up against it, just like Times
we
Square.
ate there a lot.
We ate there. Yeah, we'll talk about that. In a minute.
Five Guys a lot.
Yeah, we ate at Five Guys, I think 3 times. And you see it, and you see this huge billboard, and that looks huge, but just comparison to Times Square, there's hundreds of those billboards.
Yeah.
So here's another picture from just a different angle. And then here is a couple pictures that we had taken. One just kind of in the daytime without all the lights on, and then a picture of Whitney in front of one of the famous red phone
Yeah,
booths.
that was cool.
So that's
I almost
right,
put that on my list,
that's-
just seeing that phone booth.
yeah, that's right on the corner of Piccadilly Circus. There, they have them sporadically. They're still not really in use, most of them, but they have some just
That was like
in
one of the
touristy
first things I
areas.
was like, I'm going to have one of
Yeah,
those.
you have to see one of those. All right. Anything else there before we move on?
Nope, just that was one of the things I enjoyed.
Okay.
Lots of things to do.
So this is going to be my number 3 and maybe your number 2,
It's number 3, right?
but I think it ties in together. Mine is the landmarks.
Oh, yeah, but it's my number 2. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. So your number 2 and just for her number 3 is my number 2. So we're kind of
Landmarks. Yeah.
So it's the landmark. It's Big Ben,
Mm-hmm.
Buckingham Palace, Westminster Abbey, the London Bridge.
Yeah.
The bridge I thought was London Bridge is not London Bridge.
Yeah.
The kind of that infamous kind of blue tipped bridge that's so famous. That's not London Bridge.
Yeah, London Bridge is kind of very
It's
plain.
just a plain. and part of the reason why is London Bridge. The song. It's falling down. It's falling down. It's fell down. It's been destroyed countless times.
Yeah.
So it's just this plain concrete bridge. But they run parallel. They go across the same river.
And the one cool thing I remember from that, like when we was touring, we were on that like a bus thing, but there was people. Kentucky was playing there that weekend, wasn't they, or having some type of?
No, the NFL was there.
Oh yeah, okay. But
We
we've
just
seen
saw a guy
Kentucky.
that-
Yeah, I was trying to remember. We've seen some people. It's so funny how you can go that far away and see people with Kentucky shirts on.
I saw him and I said, "Go Cats!" I think I caught him off guard. He's like, "What?" And then I was like, and then
It
I
shocked
pointed to
him.
my shirt, and I can't remember where they said they were from.
Yeah, but it's interesting. You
So-
can always find someone.
Yep. So here you're seeing Big Ben. It was cool. I thought it was one of the things that kind of looked like I've always thought it would look. Buckingham Palace now is the complete opposite. Not nearly the size I thought it would
Well,
be.
I don't. For me, Big Ben wasn't as big as I thought. I don't know. I don't
don't
know. It was. I don't know. It's just. It was interesting, but.
Yeah. I thought Buckingham Palace though would be much bigger.
And I think maybe
mean, it's
there was
huge, but
probably
it's-
a little more we could have seen around corners and stuff. We didn't go
But
all the way.
we saw all the way across the
Yeah.
front, and you see here's the gate. We saw the
And the
guys
guards,
standing guard.
yeah, they really don't move.
No, they're there all the time. Yell at people on occasion.
Yeah,
I guess their role's very similar. It's not as like somber, obviously, but like the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier, that they're just
yeah, that's what it
very
reminds me
stern,
of.
and,
yeah,
but we saw like the changing of the guards. They do that there as well. But this is a picture kind of a Buckingham Palace. We got some Westminster Abbey, all these churches. These are just typical landmarks that you're
it was
used to seeing.
beautiful.
Yeah, and here's a few. Like I said, those bridges. I think I have a picture of the bridge. Let me see if I do. Oh,
I
wait,
guess
no.
the thing about it, like for me, when you're out traveling out and about in the city, it's very clean, and where it's old, it's really pretty.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's like a real upscale-y looking place to me,
Yes.
clean and nice. But it's different. It does remind me of New York a lot, but it's just like an older, cleaner version of New York.
I think one of the biggest things, and it's not nearly as much as somewhere like Rome or Greece would be,
Yeah,
but things are so much older there.
they are. Yeah,
Like, here 100-year-old building is ancient. It's it's an antique. There they
Still new.
they call that modern, and
yeah.
I guess it's just that the British Empire at some point in time has controlled so much of the world.
Yeah, it was just so
that-
weird to me. Such
Yeah,
a small
it's just a small area relatively.
could control so much.
Yeah,
but yeah,
but
they
it
have so
was-
much
yeah.
to see.
But it was kind of fancy, very like ornate. So just showing some pictures of monuments here. The London Eye, that's kind of become one of those famous things now. It's kind of sits in the skyline, this huge Ferris wheel. And it's similar to like what you would see, like Vegas has one.
But I don't think it's as big, is it? As Vegas?
No, Vegas I think
is
is the
much
biggest.
bigger. Yeah.
And it's probably between like Vegas and I would say, if for those in our area, we go to Pigeon Forge at the island. They have a huge
that
Ferris
top,
wheel.
but it's way bigger.
It's bigger than the one at the island, not as big as the one I would say at Las Vegas.
Yeah.
I think it's the High Roller in Vegas. So you just see a couple pictures, and now my number 2, and I think your number 3. You put the number 3 in with the landmarks. I think the Big Bus Tour.
That was I put it with the second one. Yeah.
Yeah, is that your number?
Yeah, number 3 for me was the British Museum.
Okay, yeah, well, so that's what I was skipping for you. I'm sorry. So the Big Bus Tour. Now, this is one of those things that a lot of people are going to say that's definitely touristy. But here's why we do these. A lot of times we're going on these trips, like, as teachers, if we take all our trips in the summer, you're paying top dollar.
Yeah.
That's when everybody's going on vacation. So
we like to travel as cheap as possible, see as much as possible.
So when we go on spring break or fall break or a long weekend, and we can condense a huge trip into 4 days.
And we do that a lot.
We do that a lot. You're able to travel on a budget and see, go on 3 vacations for the price of 1.
Yeah.
And so in this case, this bus tour, essentially what you do, you pay.
Hop on, hop off.
They have these every touristy place. They have hop on, hop off buses, but they take you to all the landmarks. They have little earbuds that you can plug your own headphones in, and it tells you where you're at, what you're seeing, and then you also don't have to pay for public transit. These buses run every 10 minutes at the stop. They drop you off.
When you're doing a day of you just want to see things.
Yeah. So a lot of times what we'll do, the first day we're there, we'll do one of these.
Yeah. So we know the area.
We'll go all the way around. We see what we want, and then we kind of look on this map, and we'll say, okay, we want to stop here, here, and here today. We see things, and if it's something we know we want to spend more time at, we'll go back the next day when we have a couple of those, and we'll pick a couple of things. So that's kind of how we do things. They're usually, I'm gonna say $50 a person.
Yeah.
But now if you've paid for a day of bus or subway, you're getting adding on.
The subway had really went up.
Yeah,
last
and
time
you don't want to do taxis and Ubers all day. That's gonna run into a couple $100. So to me, it's a great way. Yes, it's touristy, but you see stuff, you learn things, and I thought it was awesome. It went right down the street where, like, one of the things we want to see was the street where Jack the Ripper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm weird.
Thing, we everybody's true crime. That's the thing now.
Yeah.
And I was like, everybody's heard of Jack the Ripper, but they don't really have like anything there because it's such a dark time in their history. He was a brutal killer, so it's not like there's a statue of Jack the Ripper.
It just tells you.
It just tells you what street it's on. You could go and do a ghost tour or something. That's really not my thing.
No, I probably would.
Yeah,
Clifton doesn't.
No. And so this took us right down. Like, okay, hey, we're going to stop right here for 5 minutes. This street's where Jack the Ripper, all of it happened at. So we looked, took a picture. Hey, there it is. So
one thing I can say for me, like, and I know a lot of people aren't like this, but I enjoy being on something that I can use like headphones and go at my own pace and listen at my own pace. Yeah. I get sidetracked. So like, I just like to be able to listen or go back and hear it. 'Cause sometimes I don't hear a person when they're up there talking.
Yeah.
And I've noticed that, like, I'm that way, like with Walmart self-checkouts. I just enjoy doing those self-service type things. Yeah. That's why I like it. But there are some that you can do headphones or they have tours with people talking too. They're both as good, but I just enjoy that self-service.
Well, another thing is a lot of the pictures we've taken here in Vegas that are beautiful pictures, they're off of these buses.
Yeah.
I mean, you see everything. They'll stop for a minute.
Yeah.
You take pictures. And so what you're seeing now, there's 3 images here. One, you can see us wearing our headphones. Mm-hmm. And if you look in that middle picture, the back of that seat, there's a little box in the middle to the left of the QR code. And that's where you would plug in your headphones. Or now it's
turn
modern.
It up, down.
Yeah. You change the language.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody, I think there's like 20 languages they had. And all you had to do is click a button, it would switch languages. Or now it's modern. You don't have to use that. They have an app.
If you do use those, I'll give you a little tip, though. get a couple extra pair because
they're
sometimes
cheap.
they're cheap and they will have a short. So I'm the one that seems to get the short in mine, and
They'll
maybe
have-
because I'm like moving around, but Clifton's like try to put his in my ear and we're adjusting them.
Yeah.
But grab a couple extra pair because they're free.
Well, I've never been on one of these where they're like, here's you one set of headphones.
Yeah,
There's
there's a
huge
big
bin.
bucket. Yeah,
I mean, it's probably 20 gallons.
so get a
of
couple
headphones.
extra just in case.
Yeah, and if it works fine when you're done, throw 'em back
Especially
in
if
there
you're on top. I like to ride the top of the bus.
when we can.
So yeah, when we can, I like to ride if it's outside. Especially, I'm an outside person, so I actually you don't want to go back downstairs and get more.
And
So just grab
especially in
some.
London, you have to do the double decker bus, and
Yeah.
so we rode on top on the.
Which we do that a lot, even in the cold. But that's another story.
Yeah, I thought we shared that last time. So I loved it. Here's a couple more pictures actually going across that blue bridge that's so kind of famous. So those are right from the bus, which you can see the bus and all of those. And then that gets us to my number one. Was your number three? I love this. I could have spent every day there. Was the British Museum.
I really liked it. It was hard for me. I feel like my 3 through 5 kind of just was a tie because I liked them all the same.
All the same.
But yes, it was very interesting.
I mean, and so this is a huge.
I love a
building.
museum. So.
Yeah, we're museum people. But I love history. You know, that's what my
Did it have an
degree's
admission
in.
or was it free to get in? I can't remember.
I can't
remember. But a lot
I
of
don't
them are
remember.
free.
I don't remember it being a lot.
Yeah,
if it was.
yeah.
So before we talk about the British Museum, let's share one funny story, and it ties in with the bus. So we're at the Piccadilly Circus, and the museum's maybe a couple miles away. We'd done the bus tour the day before. We saw the British Museum. I was like, okay, that we're going back to. And so we were at Piccadilly, and we was like, all right, because I think from our hotel, we're like half a block from a subway station or, the tube there.
Yeah.
The underground. And so we rode to Piccadilly and then the British Museum, and we took an Uber. I can't remember what company it was.
yeah.
I can't remember what company it was.
Yeah.
It's their version of Uber or Lyft. So we get in the back of this car. Super, super nice driver. I mean, he's the friendliest guy. He's asking us, how we're doing, where he's from, and he's an immigrant to England. I forget where he's from.
I can't remember.
I want to think like Central Africa or something.
Yeah.
But he's talking so friendly, and we're having the best conversation. Well, we're almost there. We're like maybe half a mile away. You can kind of see it up in the distance, and we're kind of at a red light, one of those spots where you need to, like, he couldn't really go anywhere in traffic, but behind us, all of a sudden there's this horn, and I'm like, we're in a big city. It's everybody's always blowing their horn, and so he's talking, and more horn blowing, and I kind of look in the mirror, and I see this lady in the bus behind us, a huge bus. Like, I think it was a city bus or
Yeah, I think it
or a
was.
charter bus or something.
It was big.
And it wasn't one of the hop-on and hop-off buses, but
No,
maybe even bigger than
Yeah,
those.
it was just like a tour, like a regular bus.
Yeah, maybe the city
charter,
bus. Yeah, something. And so she's blowing her horn, and you can see her, like, screaming. And I'm like, what is
We're
going on
just
back
like,
there?
okay, and
And-
he's happy,
Yeah,
smiling,
he's talking,
laughing.
and all of a sudden she gets out of the vehicle, and it's still not registering to me what she's blowing the horn about, because we can't go anywhere. Well, she comes up and starts, like, banging on the window.
It was on your window, wasn't it?
Yeah, and then and then she starts screaming at him, and he's just smiling the whole time.
He's just like, hey.
And she's, just ripping into him, and she's like, "You're blocking the bus lane," and he's like trying to explain. Like, every time he tries to speak, she's cutting him off, and like he had nowhere to go, and
We were
I'm
just
sure they're
shocked,
on a
really.
tight schedule,
Yeah.
and she didn't want to get behind. But at the same time, I didn't know what he was supposed to do. And so he just smiles through it all. And finally, she just storms off. He pulls out. And he pulls crazy or
He just
something.
smiled. He
just
was
smiled.
a happy little man.
And he said she was upset. And I was just,
We just kinda
that was
were
so
like-
funny. We laughed about that. The rest
But
of the
you
day.
just don't see that here. I mean, that's not something we experience very often. So there's that type of road rage. So
Not just getting out and yelling. I mean,
no,
I don't.
I've never had anybody come to my car and yell.
No,
ever.
but I mean, so
First time for everything.
Yeah, but it was funny. I was laughing, just the way he handled it.
His
I think that-
reaction
yeah.
was priceless.
Yeah, it probably wouldn't have been as funny if we was there stuck in a yelling match, but he was just laughing it off. So here's the British Museum, and I guess this is really when it struck in, how much, I knew the history of Great Britain, but really how much of the world sometimes they've controlled. And so, like, we go to our Smithsonian's, and, they've borrowed from other countries, but Britain occupied a lot of these places. Yeah. And, like I said, like, you go to the American History Museum, and they have this huge room, like, with the Betsy Ross flag, and these huge flags that are, they're weathered and torn, and, they're 200-300 years old, and it's just awe. You're in awe of this. And you go there, and you're talking about things that are 3,000 years old.
Yep.
So just the outside, the architecture looks like, this Greek or Roman, set in all concrete. Here's some pictures like you see from Greece. You see from the Easter Islands. You see
that's really cool.
The Egyptians.
Was there a part of the Parthenon? Or?
Yeah, that's the last one here. Yeah. So here's the middle one. They have some like from around the world. So they have some like Native American stuff. And you see just some ruins. Like the bottom right there is like a sarcophagus, like a whole sarcophagus they found from one of the pyramids in Egypt. A huge library that you see there to the left. But then, I mean, there's probably more of the Parthenon in the British Museum than there is at the actual Parthenon. That
really amazed me. That was something
it's in ruins now.
Yeah.
And
whoa.
So you see almost just one whole side of it they've reconstructed.
The only one I've seen was Nashville. So.
Yeah. And so this is a huge, I don't know if the picture does it justice, but it's huge. All the ladies in the front are missing heads. I don't know what happened there. But it's just this huge building and that they've reconstructed. And then they have along the wall, they have like, it's a replica, so that you can see what it all would have looked like. Mm-hmm. And it was just fascinating. Just like, man, this has been here for thousands of years, and just it's unbelievable to me. But I really enjoyed it. I could have spent, I don't know.
Yeah, it was. I loved it.
I
was exhausted because the trip was so fast and long and traveling and jet lag. I could have enjoyed it more. I still enjoyed it, but I was really tired that day. So then it was a lot of walking. I think that should be split up in a few days, but we were trying to get it in quickly because we had to leave.
Yeah, we walked a lot.
I would definitely like to go back, but I was exhausted by the time we were finished.
All right, and then I guess that's going to get us to your number one. I went through all my 5. So why don't you tell us about your number 1?
My number 1 was the area where Beatrix Potter had lived. Her house is no longer there. There's a school, I think, was a school there. And it's like a high wall fence you can't see, but they have like a little monument thing about her on the wall. I am a huge fan of Peter Rabbit. I have been my entire life. It's one of my favorite cartoons. And I just love that. I loved, even though it wasn't a lot to see, it's just something that you grow up like reading and watching and just loving. Then you see there's where she wrote that and where she lived, and just knowing about her. I just love that. It gives me that warm, fuzzy feeling like a kid. I love anything Beatrix Potter, anything Peter Rabbit, all the characters. So it was a fun thing for me to see.
You have all the books.
All the books. Have stuffed animals.
Josh
have lots
brought
of things.
You.
Yeah, Josh. Caitlin's boyfriend brought me one of they have Peter Rabbit on one of their money coins over there, and he brought me a couple of those. I just really like it. So it was interesting because my mama and me watched it growing up. So she and I told her about it, and it was exciting to her. So
I think that was our last evening there. Like we flew out, I believe, the next morning.
Yeah, I'm glad we got to see that.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that evening. It just me and you. We went alone. I think we took the subway and then walked quite a bit to get there. And it was just in this neighborhood where she had lived.
I mean, it's just like if we walked downtown Pineville or something, it's just on the wall, just a little plaque, but just knowing that's where it was.
I remember we kind of sit there for a while and just kind of talked, and it was an enjoyable
And I was watching,
evening.
You could see through the little cracks of the little school area and things they dedicated to her, and I would love to have seen a house there that was hers if it was still there, but it's not. But.
We did this, I believe, before we went and watched, while we were there, we went and watched Wicked.
I almost put that on my bad list, but it for me, honestly, it wasn't the play Wicked. I wouldn't mind going back and seeing it. It wasn't my favorite.
I was indifferent
But the place we saw it was miserably uncomfortable.
the theater was so packed.
Not made for
I mean, it was
anybody
it's their
of
version
size.
of Broadway. No, but and here's the thing, it wasn't so much the seats like
No, they were
our
horrible.
I mean,
I
they
was
were
miserable.
narrow, but I've sit in narrow seats. And
It was
crammed up.
different. It was.
But there
different.
was no space for your knees.
It was, to me. It was like a tiny,
Yeah,
for a tiny.
I couldn't my knees went
Yeah.
they're like both.
And it was like, kind of to me, like they were almost like you were. It wasn't like a good incline. You were almost like you were looking down and kind of.
Yeah, but both my kneecaps were bruised when we were done watching that play, and I remember I was like, "Oh my god!"
And you were right on top of the people beside you, and I just felt like you were. I just felt like we were kind of like almost like nosebleed seats, but it wasn't even that we were that far up. It was just the way the seats sat.
Yeah, they were really straight.
And then I got yelled at.
Yeah, yelled at for checking your blood sugar.
So I have a Dexcom, and I check it on my phone, my sugar, and it is something I probably check too often because I do have a little bit of anxiety about it. But I pull my phone out to look at it because sometimes it may go off, and I was just making sure like it's not gonna go off or something or make a noise. So I was kind of looking at it. And some dude comes from I guess one of the workers, and he's like yelling at me, put your phone up, you can't have that out or I'll have to make you leave. And I was like, a few minutes later, we didn't really watch the entire thing.
We left at intermission.
We left, and I found a place, it was called The Walk, and it was some really good Japanese style food, so I was good with that. And then we kind of sat outside on the street.
Play.
I think that I would have enjoyed it if I didn't feel so suffocated. Again, I'm a self-service person. I like to be able to come and go. I don't like to feel cramped in a place, and I felt really cramped, and I felt like I was a student in school, and like you're not supposed to do that, and I just did not enjoy that. But I enjoyed sitting out eating at the Walk.
That's a good lead into what we didn't enjoy about London, and for both of us.
Sorry, Josh.
It's the food.
I hate it.
It was bad.
So I like
what I'm
preservatives.
showing here is a picture of I think it's our breakfast on the left, and that's breakfast: tomato, beans, a sausage, poached egg, mushroom.
Well, he didn't eat it. I did.
didn't eat that. Yeah, no way. I think I had toast and jelly every morning. Maybe just toast.
And I might would like it better, like if I ate it, like if his family fixed or something, some more homemade, and I could eat it. It just wasn't my style. It's very different. The food tastes very different because it doesn't have a lot of like preservatives and additives and things, so it tastes more natural.
Well, and it's not even that.
That was weird to me. Just letting you know.
Well, yeah, I mean, but I don't think really you taste preservatives and additives.
Well,
to me, there's no spice. Everything is bland.
Yeah, but okay.
No
So
salt,
I had
no pepper.
I had a
I'm
burger.
a black pepper
Yeah.
guy.
But I had a burger, okay? And so, like, there is a difference to me, like, when I fix a burger at home, like, fresh, more like ground beef than, like, a McDonald's burger.
Yeah.
So, I like home burgers, salted, peppered, like you said, and seasoned. And then, like, the McDonald's, but, like, the McDonald's, like you said, was bland. It kind of tasted like real hamburger meat, but it was kind of, it was just odd. I guess for McDonald's, I wasn't expecting it to taste like a home hamburger.
Yeah.
That's it.
So...
It was
And
different.
actually, that you said McDonald's, that's our second picture here.
We eat a lot of tried to find American food.
McDonald's is one of those things that it's everywhere.
Yeah.
And it's just a good point of comparison. I like to see how they're different. The fries, they're the same but different. They're not salty at all.
No, they don't salt a lot. And their chocolate is different. Like,
They
it
don't
tastes
use-
more like cocoa.
They don't use a lot of ice.
No.
But one of the things you can see here in the picture is the menu is a little different in the fact.
The menu reminds me of the 90s.
Yeah, the big and tasty. You can see that in the menu.
The
picture that we
wrap.
took. They still have the wraps, and then also if you look to the right, the next to last screen there, at the McDonald's, you see the McFlurries. There's something called the McPlant, which is an Impossible burger. But they also still have the chicken selects, the chicken tenders.
Yeah.
They were good. I like those.
It's not bad.
And
Just
then
different.
There was kind of a dinner I think we ate at the hotel that night. I ate a pizza, and
I
it
had
was
fish and chips.
fair. And
That's the fish and chips.
fish and chips. And you said it was okay.
It was fair.
There's no seasoning.
I feel
It's
like
just very
next time I
bland.
would prefer maybe going to some better restaurants. We just didn't get time to do that. We were eating on the go as quickly as possible, eating at the hotel, eating at a McDonald's, just wherever we could go in and out. So
Yeah. So, for me, that was probably one of the least.
he didn't eat a whole lot.
Yeah, that was one of the least thing. Yeah, I didn't eat much there at all. But it's just I don't know, it's just so bland. Which
Yeah.
I'm, you know, I
Have
know,
you take a salt
I know,
pepper
I know,
shaker?
I know, I look it, but I'm not a foodie.
No,
Like,
I am.
I don't enjoy food. Like, you know, it's just not my thing.
I think for me, a lot of it isn't even so much the food; it's the combinations they have, like
I think
beans
no
at breakfast
seasoning.
and no seasoning, no
No
seasoning, but just the
seasoning
weird
to me.
combinations mixed together. It was different.
Yeah, and I guess the only other minor thing I would say about the trip, and there's nothing we could do about it. You know, I think going to London, I don't know if I feel like I've been to England
Yeah, that's it.
because
I feel like I just went to another American city, kind of.
it's like
different,
any
but
metropolis, you know.
Yeah.
And I assume you go to New York, you go to London. I assume if you go to Paris, there's these huge cities
yeah,
that, you know, the world is kind of collided at these places, and so it wasn't a whole lot different than going to New York. It's a little smaller, less spread out, you know, not as many skyscrapers
Yeah.
and things, a little cleaner. But I thought the people were nice.
Yeah,
but I
very
don't feel
nice.
like I
nobody really handed us
saw
about our accent
England.
either, so that was
no, and I
Didn't have
think
that
and
a
I think
lot.
part of that was that you're at a place where everybody has a different accent.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm sure like they probably can't tell American dialects like Americans can. We probably just all sound American.
yeah. In America, everywhere you go, it's like, where are you from? Where are you
Yeah.
from?
And so I just thought it was a great trip, but I think I would like to see more of England next time.
Yeah,
I think I would like to, you know, go out in the country, some
I
of the
wouldn't
small
care to go to
towns.
Scotland. Trying to drive
Yeah,
the
yeah,
countryside,
go
rent a
see some of the other
car,
United
maybe.
Kingdom, you know, Scotland, Ireland, or even Northern Ireland, and
And we just
know,
had to
just-
do it quickly.
Yeah,
But
it was 4
I'll tell you
days.
something that I had on my list that I wish would have been different. We stayed at Heathrow, around Heathrow Airport, and it's
Yeah.
good when you're getting off the plane and you're going to be on the plane. But I kind of wish we had stayed in London because it's a pretty good trip from that Heathrow area on that train or whatever to London.
but
So I
that's
didn't-
one of the sacrifices you make when you're traveling on a budget.
I know, but I wasn't
'Cause-
crazy about
Yeah, I mean,
traveling in and out of town.
yeah, I mean,
all
I
the
would
time.
have loved to went and stay, you know, right in the heart, but you know, you're
And there are some places that were affordable, but they were like small or hostels, and
Yeah.
I'm definitely not staying in one of
but
those.
you're instantly talking about, you know, we stayed, you know, a room very similar to what we're used to.
Yeah,
It was
we wouldn't
a
have.
Marriott, you know.
But it was a long
hotel room.
drive to, or
Yeah,
a little
30
bit
minutes,
of a trip.
30
And then it, like
minutes
when in
on-
the evening, that one evening, we kind of got
Rush
the
hour.
buses. It was a little hectic.
Yeah.
But.
But you know, it's just one of those things. You have to make a sacrifice somewhere.
And we do that to travel.
Yeah, and I think one of the things about it, if you're staying at the airport, you know you're close to the subway. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? And so that gets you anywhere else you want to
Yeah.
be, and you're connected.
But it was a subway road. And I was like, it was more like a train. Was it a subway?
Well, it come above ground for a
Yeah,
little while,
okay.
but it
I
did
forgot.
go underground. Yeah, remember it was
I like
Paddington
those. But
Station.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
where we would
I thought
we
about
go
that
from
a lot.
Heathrow to Paddington Station.
I wanted a Paddington Bear. I wish I'd have bought one now, but I didn't.
Yeah.
So.
I'm sure we'll be back at some point.
Yeah, maybe a wedding.
But yeah, who knows? But
There, Turkey won, right?
yeah, but I thought it was a great trip overall, and one I would like to do again and just see more of it.
Yeah.
Next time we'll fly to London, but leave.
But I kind of like knowing that we have a plan, a game plan. We kind of know about
yeah,
it. So
first time there.
It was a good trip for a first time.
But yeah, let's rank our whole trip. A through F. What would you rate this trip to London?
It's hard because we've been so many places that I like
Well, I know, that's what I'm
better.
saying. Yeah,
Probably a B- for me.
that's about what I would want to say a B. So
Yeah.
So all right. The picture of that sorry
And I
breakfast you had really
honestly-
but I knocked it down to that minus.
Yeah, but honestly, I probably would have done it a little higher if we would have more time and seen the country.
Yeah, that's a possibility. But just this trip.
Because I think Scotland, I would have just been really wanting to see that. But I think this trip, just because of the rush, it was difficult.
All right. Well, that'll kind of wrap us up. So, a couple things. If you want to see more of the pictures from our trip, I'm going to upload all of them so you can go and look at them in as much detail. There'll be a lot more than we showed in this video on our Kentucky Couple Facebook page and at KentuckyCouple.com. I'm going to kind of revamp that, put some images up there. And again, if you are looking to travel, need tips, or just want to talk about
Yeah, I was
travel,
going to say, if anybody's
reach out.
interested in traveling on a budget, hit us up. Because if
Yeah.
you want to travel and you don't have a lot of money, we don't have a lot of
Yeah.
money either. So
and I like to talk about traveling, even
Yeah.
if you're like I said,
Just
we're
got
in the
questions.
travel agent game now for the time being. So I'd be more than happy to book your trip. But even if you just want to talk and get some advice, holler at us.
He's a researcher.
Yeah, reach out to us. I love it. I'm all about researching, and so hopefully we're going to be putting up some even more videos in the podcast here soon. Bought a new drone, so
Looking for
should
some
make
cameras to start doing some pictures
yes,
more.
to take some videos and
Maybe
some
we'll
high
have some
quality videos.
better stuff for you later.
Yep. So we're always looking to expand, but we appreciate everybody listening, and
We
y'all have a
appreciate
good
it.
evening. See you.
Thanks. Bye.